The beast system was built to have no resolve, whether it be constant political unrest or allopathic medicine's symptom management instead of true healing. Seldom is there a resolution. It doesn't matter how clear the video is. It doesn't matter how much evidence exists. People argue forever. Everyone's exhausted, but this is by design. And your nervous system recognizes extraction, meaning the process of taking something essential from you, such as your energy, for the purpose of feeding the machine. What we are living inside of is something called energy harvesting. Bees harvest for their hive, and hive-minded people are no different. Instead of nectar, though, they harvest your energy to further their own self-interest. They need you to agree, to go along with them, and to comply. The word media comes from medium. It literally means an intermediary or a channel. Media doesn't create reality, rather it selects, frames, and transmits. Think of it as art imitating life, but in a narrow way that therefore produces crappy art. So perhaps instead of asking, is the media lying, we can ask, who is being channeled and why? Because a channel serves something. When I say energy, I mean attention, emotion, stress, fear, outrage, and meaning. Spiritually and psychologically, these things are currency to the system, as your nervous system becomes the fuel source. Fear keeps people watching, rage keeps people sharing, and uncertainty keeps people coming back. A resolved issue is useless, while an emotionally activated population is incredibly valuable. And indeed, they are hacking our biology. They get us stuck in a loop through shocking headlines that get stress hormones to flood the body, so thinking narrows. And we feel compelled to react or post, argue, scroll, or pick a side. Maybe a brief release comes, but nothing actually changes. It's kind of like gambling. Rage baiters hone in on this also, and so do fearmongers. They know at some level that a dysregulated nervous system is highly suggestible. You see, facts, they end cycles. Emotions sustain them. If things resolved, engagement would drop and narratives would collapse. Conflict becomes identity, and people, they argue endlessly because their bodies are literally being farmed. But this is nothing new, really. Some ancient societies believed gods demanded fear or strange sacrifices in order to feed or appease their god. And today, this type of god is just called algorithm, institution, and permanent crisis. Biblically speaking, an idol is anything that demands constant attention, promises safety, and gives no life back. And this same mechanism shows up hard around viruses and public health. Consider how the media handles outbreaks. In addition, if white liberals truly cared about Black people and other marginalized communities the way they say they do, they would be far more willing to critique the medical industrial complex and not act like they are its unpaid marketing department. Instead, what we get is fear-based messaging. We get moral pressure, one-size-fits-all interventions, and zero tolerance for historical memory. As if all bodies are the same, or all communities have had the same experiences, or as if Black hesitancy comes out of nowhere. Black communities and other communities really have very real reasons to be cautious about the system as a whole, and that includes the medical industrial complex. This is due to a history of medical experimentation, forced sterilization, neglect and unequal treatment, and profit-driven healthcare systems. Again, if those who claim that they care about others actually cared about others the way they pretend, instead of using marginalized groups as commodities for their own political self-interest, they would condemn the medical industrial complex for its documented history of crimes against Black people and other marginalized groups. They would understand that everyone does not respond the same to jabs and respect that. They would respect Black people's distrust of doctors and medical interventions due to the history of evils the medical industrial complex has committed against us. But alas, they don't. Bill Gates was the medical industrial complex darling when he was jabbing up dark-skinned people around the world. Now that you know he's in the Epstein files, mentioned thousands of times, including instances where he messages Epstein, how do you feel about his motives now? I'm sure you still think those of us who have called him out over the years are crazy and wrong for calling a spade, because your pride won't let you admit defeat. But hesitancy is valid. We've got history and discernment on our side. So the fear-mongering and gaslighting, it isn't going to work. And the more that gaslighting happens, the more distrust grows. And look, fear doesn't produce wellness anyway, just compliance, because it does things like shut down questions and flatten nuance. Fear can actually weaken the immune system and deplete the body of vital nutrients such as minerals that we need to stay healthy. Entering that fight or flight mode repeatedly is damaging. Combine that with the fact that most Americans are not getting the needed daily replenishment of vital nutrients, combined with the biological and chemical warfare from the system, including the medical industry, and you see just how much of you is really being harvested. When we are regulated, we might ask well thought out questions such as, what are the risks, the benefits, and what are some alternatives? When we are dysregulated, not so much. And that is what systems prefer. And one of the biggest lies of modern systems is, if it works statistically, it works universally. But we differ by genetics, environment, nutrition, stress, load, trauma, and history. The beast system ignores this because it's practicing efficiency. And efficiency serves systems, but not people. So who is speaking through the media? It's not one villain, but a stack. The media becomes a mirror with a microphone that eventually starts speaking through us, living in our nervous systems and turning people into unpaid conduits. Human energy is meant for things like healing and bonding, creativity and community, and long-term change. We are conduits. It's just a matter of not being part of the harvest that feeds the beast.